Hello everyone, this will be a little different than usual. It is a part of the What If One Shot series. More below if you want to check them out. I'm going to be completely going off the top of the head in writing the script for this video, so I'm going to go a little bit off the rails. Stick with me if you're into that type of stuff. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and if you want to see more, please check out my other stuff. Anything helps, low key. Anyway, less yapping, let's get into what if Deku had a quirk. Deku was born an ordinary kid, aspirations high, without any worry in the world. He would go to kindergarten, growing up to be friends with a boy named Katsuki Bakugo. They would share their aspirations together, their hopes of becoming famous and rich heroes like All Might. They had to wait for their quirks to awaken. First was Bakugo, an explosion quirk, a mix of his parents' quirk, and a good mix at that. Deku was excited. He asked Inko what his dad's quirk was, being told that it was actually fire breathing, which Deku thought was so cool. Deku would try for hours upon hours to awaken his quirk, trying to float stuff, breathe fire, fly, make explosions. He tried everything, but nothing seemed to work. He grew tired and fell asleep. He wakes up the next morning feeling kinda sick. He walks downstairs seeing Inko who goes pale at Deku. He's rushed to the doctor, being completely bone white. The doctor's confused. His blood work looks fine. His physical, his physical came back perfect too. They could be sent home, sleeping it off. He sleeps for a couple hours, waking up and walking downstairs, completely fine. Inko was relieved. Deku walked to the table, sitting down and eating. He suddenly gets a strange an urge to push something. He looks at a vase sitting in the middle of the table. He closes one eye and pushes his hand towards it under the table. It wobbles for a second before tipping over. Inko's confused. What the hell? Deku had a huge grin on his face. Mum, I just unlocked my quirk. Finally. He explains it to Inko and they cry for a little together. She's just happy that he got a quirk. Almost like passing down your eyes or something like that. He'd be brought back to the doctor and would be have a complete and comprehensive study on his quirk. He comes into the room and explains, well, it seems Deku here can create a small pushing force, much like your own quirk, except the opposite direction. Though at the moment he's limited to small objects about 2 kilograms in size. Deku was beaming at this. He had a force quirk. Whoa. He didn't realize how small 2 kilograms really was. Inko was happy for him, but he knew his quirk was kinda underwhelming. He goes to school the next day and shows it off, pushing someone's pencil case off their desk, making it spill everywhere. The class laughs and Deku is told off by the teachers. Bakugo was excited. Whoa, Deku, you got a telekinesis quirk? That's so strong. Deku responds, nah, not really. I can only really push things away. They can kinda be they can only kinda be small too. Rubbing his neck. Bakugo brings Deku with him and they go to test his quirk together. They get some objects and put him on a ledge outside. A small acorn. Deku pushes it about 1 meter away. A small rock. Deku pushes it about 30 centimeters away. A small log. Deku focuses, pushing both his arms at the log. It wobbles a little bit but doesn't fall. Ah, damn. Bakugo laughs. Haha, Deku, you really are weak, huh? I thought you were stronger than that. Bakugo would stand where Deku stood, throwing an explosion at the log, making it shoot backwards. See, my quirk can do whatever yours can do, but better. Deku looks down. He finally had a quirk. Maybe he was going to stand up for himself. He looked back at Deku, throwing his arms up and pushing Bakugo with his quirk. Bakugo feels a small force go across his whole body. He puts a foot back, feeling it, but not enough to worry about it. Bakugo fights through it and throws an explosion at Deku, beginning their hatred towards each other. For the next 10 years, Deku would grind in secret, trying anything to unlock the potential out of his quirk. He made some bounds. He's made some leaps and bounds, though not many. His quirk could now push objects around 5 kilograms in weight, finding he can pinpoint his force to, making a smaller area for the force to go across, making it more offensive and less fatiguing. Deku walks through the door of the classroom, the teacher not there. He sits down and starts thinking he needs to get stronger. There's no way he can make it into UA the state he's in right now. 5 kilograms is nowhere near enough. The teacher comes through the door, interrupting his thoughts. He sits down, telling the class they need to start thinking of their futures, and he bought some future surveys for them to complete. The class groans before the teacher throws them up. Hey, I know you all want to be heroes. Everyone gets hyped. They start using their quirks. Bakugou does his usual speech. Don't lump me in with these losers. Deku stares him down and squints a little, maddened by what he just said, but knowing he can't do anything about it. The teacher, like in canon, would read out the applications, showing Deku and Bakugou going to apply for UA. Everyone's heads immediately snap to Deku. They knew he had a quirk, but it was just some weak, pushing quirk. What could he do with that? Deku felt their stares, sinking into his desk until the bell rang. Deku waits for everyone to leave. Thinking the coast is clear, he looks around and hops up. He walks out the door, turning left before getting yanked from behind. Bakugo and his goonies begin to beat Deku, kicking him, pushing him over. They stop and stare at Deku. This was Bakugo's way of telling him to get lost and to try not to try out. Deku knew this all too well. They cleared off. If you show up to the exam, I'll kill you myself before you can embarrass yourself. Then I'll be your hero. He laughs and walks off. Deku bawling his eyes out, staring at the floor. He's powerless. His dream. He knows. How is he going to fill his dream? He slams his hands against the floor over and over before stopping, his hand too tired to continue. He gets up, walking out of school and walking away from Bakugo, walking down a new road he's never been down. He turns the corner. A bland dirt path stands. He walks down it, his arms dropping to his side, lifeless, bloody and beaten. He was bruised, cut, and crying. This was not his day. He walks under a tunnel, looking in the distance and seeing a strange, sludgy villain in the distance, running away from him. What the hell? He thinks to himself. Thinking it's a villain, he would begin to speed walking towards it, hiding behind trees and rocks it stumbles around, looking for somewhere to hide. Deku hears a weird noise, a metallic clang. He turns to see All Might. Shit, he followed me, the sludge villain thinks, rushing and jumping just where Deku was. Deku's eyes meet the sludge villain's, as he was immediately consumed by the sludgy mass. Whoa, what the hell? Score, I guess. Just what I needed. The sludge villain fills Deku paws. Deku scrambling for help. He would activate his quirk, pushing it to its absolute maximum. The sludge villain feels a small force from inside him, pushing outwards paws. It makes a small pocket of air inside the villain. Deku breathes, catching his breath. His quirk was currently working in overdrive. It constantly repelled the sludge villain. But little by little, the sludge kept creeping back in, gaining space once again before it once again got a grasp on Deku fully. Deku thought he would die, being suffocated by the sludge villain. All Might would suddenly send a smash of the two of them, Deku being hit by this force and being knocked the hell out by it. He's woken up by All Might standing over him, tapping him on the head. He sighs with relief as Deku opens his eyes. He rubs his head, a sharp pain going through it. He overused his quirk, and bad. All Might knew this, calling someone he personally knew to come pick Deku up and take him to the doctors. He signed his notebook while he was at it. Deku would flash in and out of consciousness, his lungs half filled with sludge and All Might's attack force both being factors. He wakes up in a car, looking over and seeing an old man in a yellow outfit driving him somewhere. He closes his eyes again. He'd wake up in a hospital room 2 days later. He sits up, coughing profusely, pieces of sludge still coming up. Did I die? He looks around the room, dead silent. His mother speaks to him. Huh? Nothing came out. Not his own voice, not his mother's voice, not the doctor's. He shakes his head around, more sludge coming out. Ew, gross, what the hell? Turns out, sludge being forced into every opening in your body pores, no diddy, was no good for you. The doctor explains his situation, being knocked out for days now and being lucky to be alive, let alone being in the shape he's in. Deku looks down at his left arm, noticing it was gone. All Might's attack had knocked Deku straight in a strange manner. They tried to save it, but the break was too severe. He sits in the hospital for a couple more days before being released, going home with his mother and slowly trying to accept his new reality. He wouldn't use his quirk for a while after the incident, having overused it caused it to not work for the meantime. He had more important stuff to figure out anyway. The first month will pass, the second month rolling around of the 10-month training time. Deku finally deciding to get back to training to get his head off things. He'd begin He would choose a location secluded, picking a forest near his house where he used to go as a kid with Bakugo. Finding a nice patch of open forest, he would start. He closes his eyes, putting his arms in front of him. Starting small, he would push a tree in front of him. The tree wobbles. Deku was confused. His powers had never worked on anything bigger than, like, a table. He wondered, closing his eyes once again and cranking it up a little, opening his eyes before pushing. The trees would lean dramatically, creaking but not breaking. A win is a win. He wondered what happened. His quirk awakened after his near-death experience? Either way, he was excited, using the remaining 9 months to train his hardest. Around the 5th month mark, Deku would finally be able to push the tree to the point of it showing damage, using his quirk constantly whenever he could. Like, needing your door closed, quirk. Needing to move something, quirk. He'll constantly be using it, finding its output, how effective they are, and how much they can push. He wants to do a training like he found online, finding the biggest tree in the forest, slowly chipping away with his quirk. He goes for the next 4 months, day in and day out, pushing the tree with his quirk until he couldn't, resting, then continuing to do the same thing again. He continued on for 4 long months, ending one day as he finally came down. He was excited, seeing the progress with his quirk. He decided to go to a different location instead. Finally getting some confidence, he chooses Dagobah Beach, setting a goal for himself to completely clean the beach in the remaining 1 month he had left. He starts immediately, pushing the trash from the beach to the shore, though he would find out a more effective way to utilize his quirk on motionless objects, finding the biggest change in his quirk right after this. He walks to the entrance of UA, looking up and seeing the shining banner of their proud school. Deku has a huge smile, grinning from ear to ear as he walks through, making his first step into his new journey. He keeps walking, not even noticing Bakugo, who was staring wide-eyed at him. He noticed Deku's change, his arm. What the hell? When did that happen? Bakugo went to ask, but is interrupted by Uraraka falling in front of him. Deku walks away as Bakugo talks to Uraraka. They get inside, taking the written part of the exam. Deku would ask the facility pre-exam to sit away from Bakugo due to the incident. They comply and put them in separate exam sites as well. Deku does good in his written part, still being as smart as in canon. He then walks to his prac site, sitting in the start line and looking around. This is the most people he's ever seen with quirks in one place. He wanted to examine them all, but he couldn't. The doors open. Deku, without thinking, rushes through. Students complain. President Mike looks down, rolling his eyes, telling them there's no countdowns in a real battle. Everyone rushes in after Deku. Deku runs in as fast as he can. His quirk wasn't the strengthening type, so he wasn't the quickest. The speed types like Ida rushes straight past in front of him. Deku turns, taking a sharp right, seeing a street full of robots. He flicks his arm out, aiming at the robot in front of him, about 5 meters away. A 2-pointer. Deku closes his fist. The robot is grabbed by Deku and he starts using it to destroy the other robots. His quirk enables him to repel things, yes, but due to his awakening, he can also hold and manipulate things like a pseudo-telekinesis. His range is about 15 meters, and he can hold out to about 300 kilograms. Using this, he grabs the robot, flinging it around like a rag doll. The other robots, all of them, fall, limp on the floor as Deku runs away, not even bothering to count his points. He needed to show his point. Deku continues this. He knew his limit was about to come up. He could only use his quirk for so long, with so many objects. He learnt this best at the beach, his training being to hold objects and stacking them on top of each other. He ended up racking 76 hero points before his max is reached. He slows down, borderline falling asleep at the final bell. He collapses, being met by a sweet kiss by Recovery Girl. He wakes up, filled with confidence. He surely passed, right? Surely. He walks home and waits his mail. In this timeline, Deku doesn't save Uraraka. being saved by an off-site hero, and Nezu pausing the robot before it could crush her. Like, she wasn't going to be left there, there's no way. Deku would get the mail, Inko rushing into his room, delivering it to him personally. They would open it together, being greeted by All Might, who welcomes him to his academia.